I thought that someone with like his business acumen would have come in with a fine-tooth comb and actually found it, instead of coming in with a wrecking ball. I was a Trump supporter.
Fox News host Jesse Waters is now crying to Donald Trump because a friend of his is losing his job in Donald Trump's federal employee eliminations. Now, this happened on The Five, where Jesse Waters brought up the story of a friend of his who is a probationary federal employee who's about to lose his job. Take a listen.
And he just found out he's probably going to get laid off. He's going to get DOGed. And he texted me and he said, Jesse, this isn't good. I'm upset. This is really sad. Yeah. And this guy's not a DEI consultant.
Did you hear that last part? This guy's not a DEI consultant. Again, Jesse Waters is another person in the find out phase who really thought Donald Trump could enact policies that wouldn't affect his supporters like Jesse Waters and the people he cares about. It would only affect the people he doesn't like. That somehow Donald Trump was only going to go after the people that had TDS or some other nonsense. And here Jesse Waters is. He's in the find out phase. And if you listen to the whole thing, he's getting very emotional because clearly he cares about this guy who's about to lose his job amongst so many others.
Hi, y'all. I have another fuck around and find out story. Okay, so now it's post-inauguration. We are now starting to see the effects of certain policies. So here locally in the Kansas City area, just reading up on the local news, it turns out with the federal government, cleansing that Elon Musk wants to do, right now in the local Kansas City area, they're talking about almost 30,000 people are at risk of losing their jobs. Do you know how catastrophic that is? And this is the thing though, I also have a cousin who works for the FBI. Now, the FBI is kind of like the military where they pride themselves in being apolitical, and he works with people from different backgrounds, different political schemes, and he's right in the center of this. And the thing is this. One thing that he said was this, is not that some of these people who voted for certain policies are not educated. It's not that they're not smart. It's not that they're necessarily ignorant. It's something within themselves that is attracted to that, and all logic goes out the window. And right now, with everything going on with the FBI, with the government restructuring that Elon Musk wants to do, he has his co-workers at risk of losing everything that they work for their careers, because the government, people don't tend to necessarily make a whole bunch of money in the private sector, but the government is known for having pensions and job stability and security. And that was one of the benefits of being a government employee. That is about to be eradicated. And also what people don't understand is this: the government has always been pivotal in us having a middle class in America. The attack on the government hiring or federal government grants is attack on the middle class. And unfortunately, some people are just not getting it, and they just start finding out.
I just heard on the radio, per judge's rulings, Trump's mass firings of government employees are going to be allowed to continue. And I just want to remind everyone, for the dignity of the people who are losing their jobs right now, the word firing heavily implies that it was the fault of the person, and the word layoff implies that it was the fault of the company, or in this case, the government. So I know we all want to say firing because it feels more egregious, but for the dignity of the people involved, please use the word layoff if you can.
Now I'm unemployed, I have a ton of debt, and I'm also losing my health insurance.
Did it ever cross your mind that you could be fired in a second?
That part actually never crossed my mind.
Did your supervisor give you a reason for why you were getting fired?
They made it clear that I was not being terminated because of anything that I had done.
An HHS official sent Sandlin a letter saying your performance has not been adequate to justify further employment at the agency.
When I got it, it really upset me because it felt like it wasn't truthful. My boss, her boss, and even his boss all said that that was not true.
Our CBS News data team found that at the Veterans Health Administration, which implements the health care program for vets, probationary workers account for 30% of the staff. At the Department of Agriculture, it's 19% of the branch that performs food safety inspections. When it comes to air safety, about 1/3 of the TSA may be impacted. So far, 2,000 probationary workers at NIH have lost their jobs.
What does the public stand to lose with these widespread layoffs?
We are important and we do important work. We're impactful, and if you have questions or concerns about federal workers, ask one.
Hello. I was a federal worker who had 1 month left of her probationary period, and today I was told that I will be terminated at some point this week. I'm utterly devastated. I'm confused because my recent performance evaluation was exceptional and I got upwards of $1,500 as a bonus because my performance was so good. And this was my dream job, and it's just being taken away by an administration who doesn't care about science and doesn't care about people who might be homeless with their dog now. They don't care about our species that we're trying to conserve. That's exactly what my job was doing. It was just to assess habitat conservation for species for a 55-year habitat conservation plan. We should all be so mad right now. We should all be crying like this because I'm just devastated.
You may not be able to tell by looking at me, but I have cerebral palsy. I am this healthy because of therapies developed in the U.S. that helped rewire my brain after a stroke, allowing me to live my fullest life. My experience inspired me to become a scientist at the NIH, where I have developed new therapies to improve the lives of other children with cerebral palsy, and help develop a new understanding of how the brain functions. Now, as a result of these cuts from the Trump administration, I am prevented from continuing this research, even as an unpaid volunteer. When I hear people say these cuts are making our government more efficient, I am at a loss. How can that be true when I am prevented from working for free?
It is so difficult to hear about all of these stories where people are losing their jobs, especially hearing that, it came out of nowhere. It was a surprise because they had a really great performance. Now, this is very different from the private world where companies and layoffs happen very often, especially in the past years. But with government, many are attracted to government because typically if you're doing your job well, it's really difficult to be fired. And so I think the story from the man that's speaking that you see here, Connor, was really touching because he's truly passionate about the work that he was doing. And even to the point where he's working for free and he's losing this piece of himself that he's very passionate about. He's kind of giving back in a way as well because he knows the work improves the lives of children similar to what he's gone through. And so that was interesting. Now, up next, you're going to hear from a woman who's defending what Trump and Elon Musk are doing with DOGE. So listen to her as she defends President Trump and Elon.
In any company, when the company is overspending and is in debt, they have to slash costs. This is where layoffs happen. I am really confused at why we as Americans don't understand that's what's happening with the federal government and the thousands of people who are losing their jobs with the federal government. No one likes layoffs, but we are talking about the same employees that they begged to come back to work after the C word, and you absolutely refused. You didn't want to come back to work. You wanted to protest about coming back to work. You wanted to talk about how unfair it was to go back into the office when the government's paying millions of dollars a year for that. We are literally spending, I want to say 21, we spent $2.4 billion for immigrants. 2022, we spent 3.4. 23, we spent over $10 billion on immigrants. Last year, it did drop to just under $5 billion on illegal immigrants. You guys don't want to come back to work. It's too many of you. It's not as many employees that's needed. We are overspending as a country. So when you were protesting, when you were upset about us wanting to get rid of illegal immigrants and close the borders, you didn't realize that your country that you worked for, the money was leaving. The money has to come from somewhere. And so therefore, all this overspending, about billions have happened. And now as federal employees, we have to start slashing because the country, we don't have any money. We don't have any money. You guys got to be in debt in real life, in your real life, because you keep wanting to overspend. I get it. It's going to be hard on those people who lose their job. But Over 2 million people were offered a buyout and only 75,000 accepted it. I don't know who needs to hear this, but when buyouts are offered, it's because you're going to get out of there anyway. Your best bet is to take the buyout because you're leaving anyway. It's happening. We're cutting costs. We as a country are in trouble, and you would rather us running in the red than accept the fact that a few will have to suffer because of the actions that the administration that we just came out of put us in. They put us in situations that forced the hand. Or do you want us to keep creating more debt and more issues? I have so much empathy for the people who are losing their job. As an entrepreneur, I've been feeling it for a few years now with the other administration. I know what it's like to feel like, oh my goodness, what is happening? But the reality is, as a country, we can't afford it. And we have to, you need to downsize when the money is not there. You have to downsize. So keep your little protests, get over it.
Hey guys, come along with me to find out if I'll have a job or not within the next 2 to 3 months. Yep, you heard me right. 7 months pregnant, losing my job. And you know who I have to thank for that? Donald Trump. He put in executive orders that all federal employees must work in office come April 28th. And that's literally not possible for me because I live in South Carolina. The office I work for is in Arizona, and there is no regional office within 50 miles of me. So found out today that if you do not have a home base by April 28th, you will be let go, which is great because like I said, 7 months pregnant. So come April, I will be popping out a baby. Here's her adorable clothes that I bought her, probably the last clothes I'll ever be buying her because I'm about to file for bankruptcy. Yep. So April will come, I will pop out a baby, lose my job, and file for bankruptcy. So you know what? 2025 is really just off to the greatest start. So once again, shout out to anybody who voted for Donald Trump. You're literally ruining my life. Not just mine, everyone's. But yeah, found out today, really nothing. Only that I will be unemployed in 2 to 3 months. So I will be posting on here every day until I make money like Avery Woods. Thanks. Bye.
I have seen a number of videos where pregnant women have been laid off during their maternity leave. Now, the majority of those videos were with corporations, private companies, but this was the first video that I had seen where someone from the federal government had been fired or was about to get fired or laid off during their pregnancy. So this is always tough to watch.
It was an illegal firing. My performance was good. I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing. I was even one of those government employees that went every day of the week. I had to report every Monday through Friday, 7 to 3:30. That was my tour duty, and that's what I served. And here I am. I was a Trump supporter. When he talks about government waste and all that, yes, I'm behind it. I believe there is a lot of stuff in the government that needs fixing. And that's part of the reason why I actually wanted to work for the government, to help change the things that are wrong in the world, I thought that someone with like his business acumen would have come in with a fine-tooth comb and actually found it instead of coming in with a wrecking ball and destroying people's lives for no reason.
So it's definitely a rude awakening, but many people like myself who have worked in corporate for a long time has seen how companies typically do, especially when there's new leadership coming in with different initiatives. If we're going to run the government like a business, this is what you would expect. When leadership comes aboard, they look at the jobs, they start slashing, and they ask questions later. This is why a lot of companies, like you'll see Amazon, Meta, and others, they'll slash a bunch of jobs, and then they'll rehire people. We even saw this with Twitter/X. This is what business leaders do because they're looking at the cost first, and they'll figure out the rest later.
Just got laid off from my federal government job. I don't know. Feeling angry. Very angry. Frustrated. It sucks. I worked in the IRS small business, self-employed. And now there's going to be a lot of people on unemployment. Great.
I'm getting this comment a lot. I voted for Harris. It's very obvious if you look at my profile, you look at my content. I do not support Trump. I've never supported Trump. I most definitely voted for Harris.
So I'm just over here at the VA leaving from an appointment and find out that my wife was just laid off from the IRS for poor performance, even though she just yesterday received an almost perfect performance rating. So yeah, I definitely appreciate that. So I want to thank Trump and Musk for making America great again. Appreciate that. Take care of people who were hired under spouse of veterans preference. Thank you very much. Yeah, that wasn't me. We did our part.
I checked my government phone and I was like, I got fired.
This is a trend that's happening on TikTok. Anyone that's coming out with a video saying that they lost their job, especially if it's a federal job, then they are getting the questions about who they voted for and if they voted for current President Donald Trump. And so they're having to make these videos to defend themselves and say who they voted for. Even one man you saw, he showed a picture of him and his wife with the signs with Harris and Waltz. So people are doing this to figure out if they should feel sorry for someone or to determine if they're in their FAFO phase and they should be unbothered.
You thought it was a joke.
Well, I mean, I knew it was real, but I was like, it was funny because this. Wow, they did it. They actually did. This is happening. So I could say disbelief. And that's why you can't help. Again, it's a veteran mentality where you just laugh at it. You're like, oh my God. Okay.
So what do you do now?
So immediately following that, though, I called my immediate supervisor to let him know. I was like, hey, just letting you know, I know you're on vacation right now, but I just got fired. Immediately calls me back. He's like, what? Tell me, show me. And I called, next hire, because again, the Ann Arbor VA is an amazing place. We have great leadership. And everybody was genuinely concerned and surprised because they're like, we had no idea.
Nobody in your direct chain of command knew you were being fired.
Nobody. The director of our hospital had no idea.
What does that tell you about the reasoning behind it?
It was arbitrary and it wasn't thought out and poorly executed. I think it's become pretty obvious and how we've seen with other agencies and the people that were terminated, rehired, so terminated again. My job is to take care of veterans and to help make sure our doctors and nurses and providers can do it. I don't care whose picture's on the wall downstairs.
What do you think the people who see jobs like yours as lines on a spreadsheet are missing?
Again, there is absolutely no denying that there are areas where our government agencies can be made more efficient. There's no way to say they're perfectly running machines, but it's all about the execution and perhaps the input from the people that are running these places that should be taken into account. Because from my perspective, somebody looked at a spreadsheet who has no idea what happens in our hospital, no idea what my position is, but they saw it, not a doctor, not a nurse, probationary, you're not in a union, click. They didn't ask my supervisor if he was okay with it. They didn't consult the director of our hospital if she was okay with it, or even what my job was. And if I was to be removed, can we continue?
It's devastating to lose this opportunity that I worked so hard for, and I know the same is true for so many other people.
Andrea Townsend is one of the fired Yosemite National Park employees. Her job researching endangered species suddenly slashed under the Trump administration's federal workforce reduction plan. The park's massive waterfalls and majestic peaks are a worldwide destination that attracts 4 million visitors a year. The federal cutbacks have left people who love the wonder of the park wondering what comes next.
How dare we treat the people that work in Yosemite like this?
Beth Pratt is the California Regional Director for the National Wildlife Federation and lives near Yosemite. Besides cutbacks to staffing, an initial hiring freeze on national park seasonal workers that is now lifted has also pushed back staffing for the summer.
They already had to put pause on campground reservations because A, they don't have the people to take them, and B, they don't know if they're going to have the staff to run the campgrounds.
During COVID, with limited staffing, Yosemite became overrun with visitors, trash piling up, gridlock, and parking problems, leading to a reservation system which was supposed to solve that problem.
For now, there is no summer reservation necessary, leading to more concerns of chaos amidst the cutbacks, with Yosemite Park employees now sharing their take on their termination.
I just hope that this inspires people to speak out and, do what they can to fight back.
Man, I thought the unemployment rate in the job market was bad before, but now it's going to be really bad with 220,000 people fired by Donald Trump. Make it make sense. He was supposed to give us cheaper eggs, give us cheaper grocery prices, but yet the first thing he does is firing hundreds of thousands of people from the government. A lot of them that he mistakenly fires and begs for them back not 24 hours later, especially in the case of the avian flu like he just did. And groceries are at an all-time high. Eggs are $8 where I live right now. And the federal workforce is now entering the unemployment lot, and we all don't have a chance at any jobs. I would just love for you guys to explain what you guys voted for, because I'm not seeing a lot of you guys getting what you voted for at all. I'm only seeing him tear down the entire systems that we're all functioning on, and then the next day begging for half of those employees back because he's so uneducated he has no idea who he's even firing.
Well, this is it, y'all. I have officially been laid off from the IRS per the executive order from Donald Trump.
If I have to be just bluntly honest, the way the federal workers are losing their jobs seems like a hostile takeover. They got that fork in the road letter from OPM, got it at night when they were at home, probably not even checking their emails. There was an offer for a buyout or resignation with very few days to think about it. Most people are saying, oh, he's cutting waste from the government. But if that were the case, each person's job would have been evaluated. Their performance would have been evaluated in some cases. They'd have been put on a performance improvement plan, and there are usually conversations about how to improve, but none of this happened. People were eliminated from their jobs without even a plan for restructuring the departments or putting other people in those places or consolidating roles. None of this discussion happened like you would normally see in a workplace. This is essentially a hostile takeover. I'm coming in and you guys are getting out. But if you think about Project 2025, it did say that federal employees will be replaced by Trump loyalists. So they probably have in mind people that they want for those positions already. And these people may not even be qualified to do those jobs.
I lost my job on Monday. No, I'm not a federal worker. I work in healthcare and I work from home. This is not a small company. This is a company like United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Don't want to really specifically name my company, but yeah. So some of these healthcare companies depend on government subsidies to keep things going for their members. And my company was one of those. Back in November, right after the election, we had a meeting and they told us hey, we might be doing some layoffs and some terminations. However, we don't know yet. We're playing it by ear. Well, the day after the inauguration was the first meeting. If you received that email, you were let go. So people lost their jobs. I'm not sure how that was picked, because some people that got to stay had issues were not hitting their metrics, and some people that left had no issues whatsoever. But they have said that they have not received any unemployment, anything of that nature. Now with me, they told me I was eligible for unemployment. I'm not sure how that's going to work, since the people who's been gone since January said they ain't received a dime. A little context to this is I started this job back in March of 2024 and was in training until June of 2024. And they told us that, hey, after you've been here for 1 year, you're going to start doing some of the harder work, working in some of these government systems where you're going to have to get approved to even use these systems and things of that nature. It was all a lie. From June 2024 until November 2024, I was trained on everything within my department. And by December of 2024, I was being required to hit all the metrics for everything within my department. On top of that, I was also selected every single time for every pilot that was sent out for us to try things out while still doing my job, while still hitting my metrics. And yeah, these are the same things that people that have been there for 5+ years, they're doing it, and they're expecting us to have 100% doing it. Said all that to say this is not to scare you. This is just telling you to be proactive. Once they told me that it was possible layoffs happening, I went and updated my resume. I started applying for different positions. The same day that I got let go, I had an interview that day, because I had already been applying. I'm not sure if I got the position or not. No, I'm not a big creator, so I don't get paid a lot of money off of here. This will be my first actual whole month in the creator program. I've never been in the program for a month yet. So I am prayerful that I'll find something else. But until then, y'all will just be seeing my face, because I can't let the depression and stuff kick in. I have to keep going. So I'm encouraging all of you all to do the same. Everybody who's lost your job, everybody whose job is in jeopardy, keep pushing. We got this.